you so much for coming into this session. My name is Kashaira, and I am a certified life and business success coach. I work with high achieving women in the online space to launch and scale their online coaching practices. And I'm coming with you today with the final installment in our month long series. It feels crazy how fast these last 3 weeks have gone by, but we are wrapping up our Coach Continuing Education Month series. This is the first time we've tried this here at the Power Collective, which is my company, by the way. And the goal this month was to kick off the year with personal and professional development for our audience, which primarily consists of coaches and course creators. Please excuse my neighbor's dogs, they really be going in. Um, but we wanted to bring personal professional development for you all month long, complimentary, to help you just jumpstart the year, get your businesses in order as you prepare to serve your own clients all year long. So, if you are new to the series, if you need to get caught up, we have playlists both on our Instagram and on our YouTube channel called Coach Continuing Education Month. I believe on Instagram you'll look under the video play button on my profile. We also created a guide for you, so there's a guide section on our profile. And over on our YouTube channel, we have a playlist. So everything is organized in the way that it was delivered, so you can go through that. There is a workbook / ebook that goes along with this series called the Profitable Coach Guide, or Profitable Coach Starter Guide. So make sure you grab that as well. It's linked in my bio and on my website, thepowercollective.co. So we are wrapping up today with talking about how to expand your offer suite, your streams of revenue, your product suite, however you call it. I call it an offer suite. How to expand that, diversify that, pivot from the signature offer model to now having multiple offers within your business. How to do that in a way that does not confuse your audience, that doesn't complicate things, that doesn't sabotage your brand and ruin your business, because you can ruin all of the progress you have if you're not methodical with your expansion techniques. That's not to scare you, it's just to suggest that when you begin to grow, you need to take it seriously. Just as you are really focused with getting to the point where you are now, you want to maintain that. So let's go ahead and dive in. And by the way, if you enjoyed this, do me a favor, share this video, okay? Share this video, share this training, share this series with those that you think could benefit from it. So when it comes to preparing to now get into a place of diversifying and scaling and things like that, I definitely see even the most successful coaches almost going off the rails when it comes to this and falling victim to shiny object syndrome, in the sense of always needing to create something new. Right? Like, we often talk about that in a sense of always buying something new, but we can fall into the habit of always creating something new. Like, every week you are working on a new course, a new master class, a new guide. Like, girl, like, every week is something new. And because you've seen prior success, and thank you so much for buying a badge, I so appreciate you, TJ. You fall into this point of, well, I've seen success previously, I'm booked out, I've been crushing my revenue goals, I'm hitting 10, 20, 30K a month consistently, and then you begin to just like start posting and going, right? The things we tell you not to do in the marketing world. You're like, well, I've had success, I have demand, so every week I'm coming out with some new, like, I'm dropping these new specials like I'm a local fast food chain, and I'm gonna just post on my Instagram, and like the money's gonna roll in, and then your feelings get hurt when that doesn't happen. Right now, you got an attitude and you're burned out because you're constantly putting this stuff out. So you fall into this shiny object syndrome, and you begin to think that if I have this curated library of stuff, it's just going to skyrocket my revenue. And for some people, that's the case. For others, not so much. For others, it's just something that you're doing prematurely, right? Again, that's why I said you have to be strategic, because once you start to get a little bit of momentum, the worst thing you could begin to do is just go and copy and paste what you see. Because where does that desire to even have some of this come from? A lot of times it's from what we've been exposed to or what we see, versus what actually strategically makes sense for my business, my audience, my vision. I talked about yesterday about how we need to actually ensure that we're stepping outside of the business and really operating as a CEO and being intentional about that. And when you are working constantly in the business and you're constantly in the weeds, you run the risk of doing just this, creating aimlessly, trying to pull from here and there, and then wondering what's going on. Versus if you were in the CEO seat, you are not in creation mode, you may make a very different decision. Something else I noticed when we're trying to expand too quick is we begin to neglect the moneymaker. I've seen this a lot. It's like, oh, well, my coaching program or my signature course is doing really, really well. I can focus on these other things. So then you chill on marketing. You've had a wait list up forever. You're not really doing anything with it. And then when you realize, oh my gosh, my clients are all about to expire, or oh my gosh, my course sales are starting to dwindle, you're like, what's going on? Well, we neglected the marketing, and you have to now build it back up. Just because you had a sold out launch 12 months ago doesn't mean you're going to automatically have another one now, especially when you haven't been talking about the program. And one thing I really want to emphasize with this is that I fully believe you can do anything you put your mind to. You can manifest any desires you have. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to be in this for real, you need to be realistic about the competitive landscape. At the end of the day, social media, marketing, technology, business is moving so quickly. When you're just in and out like that and you're not consistent, it is very easy for you to be forgotten almost, right? Like it's always about the latest and greatest hot thing, right? So with that being said, your program can continue to maintain momentum. It can continue to be competitive, but it can only be like that if you're consistently talking about it, right? Even if you are at capacity and can't take any new clients in it, or if enrollment is closed, still talk about the program. Still share client successes. Still share what you're working on with the clients. Get people excited about for when this opens up again versus just going ghost and not talking about it ever. People don't even know if it still exists. And then you pop up 12 months later like, oh, hey guys, cart's open, it's time to enroll. And you're like, what even is that? You have to go, now you have to rebuild and go through this all over again. So when you are diversifying, don't neglect the moneymaker. I just did a private training in my Facebook group, which if you are not a member, you are missing out on the tea, girl. My Facebook group is actually the same as my business name. It's called The Power Collective. You can also find it just by searching me. But I did a training in there about cash injection strategies, things you can do when you're in between launches or you can't take any more clients or you're just at a lull in your sales. And I talked a lot about how when we're creating one-off products, like one-off like master classes and mini courses and bundles and things, we'll oftentimes kind of just pull out of like what we think people need and what we think will work, what we think will sound good, but we're not strategically thinking about how does this thing connect back to the moneymaker? How does it lead people back to the signature offer? Or if you have a second and third tier coaching program, how does it lead towards those things? How does this now become a stepping stone to that next level? We're just thinking about that quick dollar here. And that is why if you have inconsistent revenue, you've had some high months or some low months, the issue might be you're doing a lot of quick win stuff. You're not doing a lot of longevity stuff. That's where the strategy comes in. And the strategy is going to slow you down. If you are dropping new products like hotcakes, there's a high likelihood that there's not a tight strategy with that. And I totally get it in entrepreneurship, needing the cash injection. And when you need cash injection, I get it. But if you're always in that strategy of just every month, you got to really fight for your life to hit your goals, you may want to slow down and say, yeah, you know what, it's going to take me a little bit longer to put this out, but it's going to get me more money in the long run because we want long money. We want longevity. We want this business to last and to not be something that's like it kind of comes and goes like the latest fashion trend, right? I've also seen people feel like they have to create whole new brands when they're expanding. And there's a time and a place for this, because if your idea is, you know what, I want my coaching business to just be a coaching business where this is our signature offer, this is our only offer, and that's it, that's perfectly fine. And you decide you want to go into, I don't know, physical products, whatever else, a whole new brand makes sense. But sometimes you see people creating like a whole new brand for stuff that relates, like a whole new everything, Instagram, website, brand colors for a product that fits under what you're already doing. If that's your path, go for it and prosper. But what I've seen with that is that it becomes a fast track to burnout. Because even though this thing relates to your business and theoretically should still be under your business, you're almost treating it like it's its own business. So you are now overstretching existing resources. You're overstretching yourself, your team, and your budget to manage this whole separate marketing plan, whole separate everything. For what though? It's like, yes, be extra. Yes, be different. Yes, like toot your own horn, but be strategic about it. Sometimes we create so much busy work for ourselves for no reason. Well, not even no reason. Some of us have limiting beliefs around success and what it looks like and means to actually get success. And we're so used to and conditioned to things being hard, things being difficult, that we will go out of our way to make something difficult. It's like, well, there's no way I'm going to see the results I want from this if it's that easy. So I have to add all of this extra stuff in here and create all of this extra busy work. So you want to free yourself from that frame of thinking. And the last big mistake I want to call out here that I see with diversification is we assume, especially in the coaching space, that a course is the only way to expand. Like the only way to see more revenue without being on the phone all day is a course. And that's just one option. There are so many other paths of revenue generation and scale outside of a course. Courses are still great, but if that's not what you're being called to and led to, don't force it. Literally, don't force it, right? So we're talking about some of the things that people kind of do that leads them off the rocker. But I really want to emphasize that when you're thinking about this, I don't want you to think about it in the sense of, Kashira said it was wrong, so I'm just not going to do it. Or Kashira said think about it. Like, no, I want you to realistically evaluate the value add of doing all of those types of activities and what that can actually cost you. Because when you really break it down, it becomes a waste of time and a waste of resources. And these two things are not like infinite. Like, we don't just have this just never ending amount of time. Like, we have to be very strategic with our time and what we choose to contribute to. So if you are going to scale, you want to make sure that it is worth whatever you're investing from a time and monetary standpoint. And then I mentioned earlier that if you start to just put out anything and you're not thinking it through, you can almost put yourself in a position where you have to start over. You can put yourself in a situation where you almost have to rebuild trust with your audience, because it only takes one bad product to ruin trust with your audience. And if you spent, all of these months and years building that up, you really don't want to have to start over. And you don't want to begin to have people look at you like, we don't really know what she does anymore. We don't really know what he's about anymore. We don't really know what they coach on. People even starting to make assumptions where they start to assume your niche has changed. You don't even do coaching anymore. And again, when that perception is already there, imagine the marketing that has to be done now simply just to change perception. Not even to get people to buy, but just to change perception. So you want to be very cautious about that. And if that does begin to happen, then from a mental standpoint as a CEO, that can cause you to now have self-doubt, imposter syndrome, comparison syndrome. There's a whole lot that comes into that, and you work so hard to get to where you are now. The last thing you want to do is have to rebuild it. So when it comes to your actions as the leader of your company, what do you need to actually shift internally in order for you to be in a position to diversify the way that makes sense for you? First and foremost, again, I'm going to keep emphasizing, you need to remain strategic and remain scrappy. When you start to have very successful launches, you're having 20K, 30K, 40K, 50K, six-figure launches, let alone months and years. It is easy for your ego to take over. And what I mean by ego can begin to make you think that I don't have to be as strategic anymore. I can just kind of put out anything, and because I've seen this success, it's going to sell, it's going to bite. Ego will tell you that you don't do the same amount of planning and tactical approaches you did before. Ego will make you think you can kind of just do whatever. And you want to be careful with that. We always assume ego means, oh, now I'm just bragging, now I'm just flashy, and like, that's very limited thinking. When it comes to ego and your business decisions, this is the difference between you having longevity in business and you being broke in the next 30 days. So be very intentional with that. Your level of strategicness should actually increase as your revenue increases, not decrease. right? Because now when you're at 40 and 50K months, your strategic thinking has to now apply to operations and systems and team and company culture and engagement and all of these, brand perception, PR, like all of these different things. This is not the time for you to shrink that and let that dissipate, right? Which is why in our higher level programs, our advanced programs for coaches who are ready to scale, this is why we actually incorporate the life coaching piece into that, and we teach our limitless living framework. We teach our CEO blueprint, because there is a transition from being a coach at the 5 and 10K marks and now being the CEO of a multi 6-figure, 7-figure company. There is a mindset shift. There's an identity shift. There's a lot of shifts that have to happen with that. And the strategy alone just isn't enough, right? Something else to think about as you begin to grow. For many of us, the goal is truly at scale, to truly not be so hands-on every single day. Something to consider as you begin to hire, build your team up, getting coaches in. Don't get so hands off with your business that you don't know when there's a hole in the ship. You don't want to find out that your ship is sinking like the Titanic when it's too late for you to save it and you don't have to rebuild it. I've seen this a lot too. So even though you are growing your team, you are expanding, you're creating more offers that aren't as hands-on, I still want you to be into your business, still looking at your data on a regular basis, still evaluating metrics, still understanding what's happening, noticing trends, looking at client and customer feedback, right? So being very into the business. And the cool thing about being into the business on the data level, when you're evaluating both qualitative and quantitative data, you are actually going to be better at creating digital products. You're going to be better at creating courses. You're going to be better at creating event series and whatever other offers you want to have, because you're going to have your pulse on what the audience actually wants, right? So let's talk a little bit about our process, right? The point of this session, how to expand your offer suite without confusing your audience. We have a relatively long framework on how to do this, because it very much is dependent upon how you want to diversify. So the strategy that we would implement if you wanted to diversify with group programs and masterminds looks a little bit different than with courses, looks a little bit different than if you wanted to do more B2B consulting. So I'll share with you a couple, like just 3 of some of the steps that are applicable to each part of our framework. So one of the first things we like to do immediately with our clients, specifically within the Coaches League and Ascend, if people have come to us for scale help and Ascend, is we like to look at the data. Surprise, right? We want to look at the data. And if the person coming to us does not have a ton of data for us to look at, we work with them on curating our own surveys, right? Surveys that go out to 2 audiences. The first audience is past clients who are satisfied with services, and we go out and we survey them. The next audience we survey is the warm leads, people who this particular coach has talked with, spoken with, maybe DM'd with, who is like a great lead, but they didn't quite qualify for whatever their signature offer is. So we survey them both, and we leverage that data to identify which opportunity makes the most sense to roll out first, either a pre-product, something that will help people who are unqualified get qualified, or a post-product, some kind of continuity program that will ensue post that coaching experience. And that continuity program does not have to be coaching. It could be a myriad of things, but we want to look at the data. Here's the problem with people in surveys. People assume that when it comes to what I'm talking about right now, you should ask your audience what they want, or ask them what do they need. Like, you will go on your Instagram and you will say, what do you all want to see from me? What do you all need? How do you move your business forward? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And you wonder why. You wonder why you're either getting really half-baked answers, or you are listening to that, and when you put out the product that responds to it, they don't buy it. If you have not taken business statistics, I honestly don't recommend it. Business statistics was one of the worst classes in my MBA program. But the value of that class is you actually learn how to curate really strong surveys to get, again, both qualitative and quantitative data to now make I'm sorry, my alarm just went off. Make sure my Instagram is good. Let me know on Instagram if you all can still hear me okay. I forgot my alarm was set. So anyway, So you want to make sure that you're collecting both. So the survey definitely shouldn't be all open-ended, but it shouldn't be all drop-down number select either. So we want to go out and we want to get as much data as we absolutely can, and then come back and begin making decisions from the data. We do factor in the coaches, like obviously gut instinct and obviously desires, but most times coaches come to us and they're ready to scale. They just know the mechanism but not the subject. They know that they want to write a book or create a huge conference, or they want to create a course, but they don't really know what it's going to look like. That's what we use the data for. The next phase that we like to implement, once we've decided on what we're going to do, what the subject matter is, and who the audience is going to be, we are now going to work on that coach's messaging, because even though every single offer has its own messaging and its own enrollment page and all of that, your overall business messaging, especially on social media, needs to now shift. And it needs to shift to incorporate every phase that you service. So what do I mean by phase? Let me break it down for my business. So in my business, we have a couple different coaching programs, primarily two, but technically three, right? But our big like world-class flagship programs are the Founder Circle, the Coaches League. The Founder Circle, you want to be a coach course creator. You're not making 5 to 10K a month in your business. This is where you need to be. This is where you learn how to build an offer, how to build frameworks, how to be a great coach, how to ensure you're impactful and effective, how to do market research, messaging, sales, all of that jazz, right? But then we have the Coaches League. This is the big dog. This is when you're like, I'm making 20, 30, 40K a month. Or maybe you're past 10, but you're ready to really grow. And you're like, I'm trying to diversify. I'm trying to be a CEO. I'm trying to step up my revenue game. Let's get in here and let's build this plan for scale, right? So those are two very different programs. However, they serve the same person. They just serve them at different levels in the journey. And with our business model, you do not have to be a graduate of the Founder Circle to be in the Coaches League. If you did, this would be more of a invitation only offer that more than likely wouldn't even be talked about in public, right? So just something for you to think about as an option for your scale. So because we have these two program levels, we need to now have messaging that mentions that we serve each phase of that customer journey. Again, same person, different phase, beginner, advanced. So our messaging has to speak to that. If our messaging only speaks to the beginners, the advanced would never come. If we only speak to the advanced, the beginners would never come. Again, the caveat here is our advanced program is a public program. If it was a completely back-end program, we would not need to shift that messaging. So you want to work on your messaging so that it incorporates every phase that you service. And if you have a plan where you want to roll out multiple things and serve multiple areas, you want to roll them out one at a time. So just something for you to consider so that you're not doing a huge overhaul too fast. So that way, as you begin to shift messaging, you now create a communication plan where you are rolling out this messaging and you are communicating with your audience about what's to come and what to expect. This is going to help them not be so shocked when something new comes out, and to also get excited about what's coming out, and additionally help you continue to grow your audience. And with this, you want to now think about, does it make sense for us to have any kind of visual rebrand, or is our current branding still serving us? We just need a messaging shift and a bit of a copy shift. Something for you to consider. And the very last thing I want to share with you from our framework is launching. So even though the goal is passive income lifestyle, if we are creating more of a higher priced, low end product, so if you normally sell $15,000 program, but you want to create a $2,000 course, that's on the higher end of a digital product price point, we would want to have a live launch. A live launch means we are going to, for a period of time, actively sell this thing. Once we are done actively selling for a period of time, we're going to come back, look at the data, revise the funnel, and then put it on autopilot, provided we got the results that we want. I do not recommend putting higher price things like that on a passive funnel right out of the gate unless you've tested it somewhere else, or maybe you ran it live as a coaching program. I don't know, but you want to test the funnel. It really just isn't serving of you to come out of the gate with a passive funnel if you don't even know that it works. So you want to test it live, real time, make a big deal out of it, and then put it on passive. And one thing is very important here, again, if you're going to create multiple digital things you want to put out, launch one thing at a time. Even if you plan to separate your platforms, your email list, you just don't want to cause brand confusion because a lot of your audience is following you everywhere. A lot of them are on the email list. So it begins to feel like every time they see you, it's just a sales frenzy, but it's always something different. So there's no real desire to buy because there's confusion. So one at a time. That's why you want to have a methodical process to this. So something for you all to think about. So with that being said, that is the conclusion of today's session and the conclusion of our Coach Continuing Education Month series. It is my sincere hope that you learned something, that you were able to take away some nuggets from this month-long series. Again, make sure you get caught up on everything. The videos will live on our Instagram and on our YouTube channel. Of course, if you would like support in your growing and scaling journey, I highly encourage you to click the link in my bio or visit thepowercollective.co/work with me to schedule a complimentary discovery call with me. In that call, we are going to assess where you are right now, where you want to go, challenges you faced, any roadblocks, how you best want to learn and be supported, and see if we have any programs that will help accelerate your path to bringing those goals to life. Of course, I'm available for you in the DMs if you have any questions about working with me. I will talk to you all on live probably in the next week or so. So just stay connected with me here on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the places. And I will talk to you all in the next session. Have a great day. Bye.